My name is Claire Whitfield and I am 34 years old. 3 weeks ago, my mother appeared at my front door for the first time in nearly a decade. She was standing on my front step in a gray knit sweater, rolling luggage beside her, and a folded sheet of paper in her hand. The paper was not an apology. It was a breakdown, handwritten, black ink, bullet points, every single one carrying a dollar amount. Total: $918,000. She did not say she was sorry. She did not ask about her grandchildren. She said, "We need to have a conversation about this family's future." But here is what my mother did not know. I had been keeping my own record for nearly a decade. Every birthday card she sent back. Every voicemail she left unanswered. Every forwarded message my sister had written about me behind my back. 31 entries, every one labeled, every one dated. Every one stored inside a dark green binder sitting in the bottom drawer of my home office. She arrived with a list of what she wanted. I had a list of what she did. Before we go any further, if you are new here, please take a second to like and subscribe. Genuinely means a lot. And drop a comment below telling me where in the world you are watching from and what time it is there. I love reading those. Now let me take you back to the summer I turned 25. The summer my family decided I was no longer part of them. Greystone Falls, Indiana. Population just over 2,100. One Methodist church. One hardware store. One diner where every table smelled like maple syrup and burnt coffee no matter what hour you walked in. That was my town. My entire universe until I left at 18. My father, Raymond, drove a delivery route for a regional supply company for 28 years. Same schedule, same work jacket. Same quiet nod when he came through the back door at 5:55 every evening. My mother, Carol, managed the household and the church auxiliary committee with the kind of precision most people reserve for corporate operations. She planned the spring fundraiser. She organized the meal train. She decided who sat where at every church dinner, and no one questioned it. My sister Brooke was 3 years younger and everything I was not. Outgoing, effortless, the kind of girl who got elected class president and acted like she did not see it coming. Mom thought the world of her. Dad called her his little spark. I was the steady one. The one who folded laundry without being asked and pulled straight A's in every science class and never once got celebrated for either. I do not say this out of resentment. I say it because you need to understand the dynamic. In our household, attention was a limited resource, and Brooke was always first in line. When I was 18, I earned a full academic scholarship to Indiana University. Full ride. I was the first Whitfield to go to a 4-year school. Mom helped me pack my room and slipped an envelope into my bag, the kind with a watercolor design on the front and her handwriting inside. "We will be here when you are ready to come home. You belong with us." I held on to that card for over a decade. It is still in my desk drawer, right beside the green binder. That card was the last kind thing she ever wrote me. I met Darius Coleman in an econometrics course during the fall semester of my junior year. He sat 3 rows ahead of me and worked through statistical models like he was solving basic arithmetic. Unhurried, precise, never flustered. He was a systems engineering major with a minor in data science, on a partial merit scholarship out of Cincinnati. His mother, Loretta, was a retired middle school principal. His father, White, from a small town outside Columbus, had walked out when Darius was 5. Loretta raised him on her own. She held 2 jobs until Darius turned 17, then scaled back to 1 job and started volunteering at a community center 3 nights a week. Darius was biracial. He had his mother's warmth and his father's build, and this way of paying attention that made you feel like what you were saying genuinely mattered. Our first real outing was a food cart by campus. He paid and folded bills. I dug quarters out of my coat pocket. We split a drink and talked until they started breaking down the stall. He told me he wanted to create something. He was not sure what yet, but something that actually solved a problem people had. I told him I wanted work where the data told a real story. He said then we picked the right field. We were together for 2.5 years before he proposed. 2.5 years of quiet, grounded, unassuming partnership. He met my parents on 2 separate occasions. The first time, Mom smiled too brightly and called him Derek instead of Darius. The second time she got his name right but kept her eyes on her plate when she said it. Both times Dad gave him a handshake and said almost nothing. I told myself they just needed more exposure. Small town upbringing. They would come around. Brooke was the blunt one. At Christmas dinner she leaned over and whispered, "He seems great, but Mom is not going to get past this. You know that, right?" I did not know that. Not yet. Darius proposed on a Thursday. No ring immediately, just a conversation at our small kitchen table in our apartment near campus. He said, "I want to build a life with you. I want to do all of it with you. Will you?" I said yes before he could finish. Called home that same night. Mom picked up on the fourth ring. I told her. The line went silent for 8 seconds. I counted. "You need to understand what this is going to mean for this family, Claire. Not congratulations. Not tell me everything. A warning." Dad picked up on the other extension. He cleared his throat once and said nothing at all. 2 days after that, Brooke sent a text. "Mom has been beside herself since your call. Are you happy with yourself?" I was actually for the first time in a long while, but I did not write that back. 10 days after the call, a letter came. Not a text, not an email, a letter, handwritten, Carol Whitfield's careful print on off-white stationery. She wrote 5 paragraphs. The last one read, "If you go through with this, you are making a choice to put him above this family. We cannot be part of it. We will not be there. And if you walk down that aisle, do not expect to walk back through this door. He is not right for us, Claire. He never will be." That was her line. She drew it in black ink on off-white paper and expected me to stay on her side of it. I read the letter 4 times, folded it, put it inside a manila envelope. I did not fully understand why I kept it. Some part of me, the part that tracks receipts and files statements, said hold on to this. I held on. We got married at the county courthouse on a Saturday in July. 11 guests, all close friends, all from Darius's circle. His mother, Loretta, drove 4 hours with a dress bag and a container of her homemade pound cake. She fixed a ribbon to my hair, took both of my hands and said, "You are family now, sweetheart." No one from my side walked in. There was no processional. There was a carpeted corridor, fluorescent lighting, a judge who stumbled over our last names, and a dinner afterward at an Ethiopian restaurant where we pushed 3 tables together and Darius's college friend gave a toast so funny that Loretta knocked over her water glass laughing. My dress was $145 from a second-hand boutique on Elm. Cream-colored, simple, and it fit like it had been made for me. Darius wore a charcoal blazer he found on clearance. We looked like 2 people who had just done the most significant thing of their lives on a shoestring because we had. That night in our apartment I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the small bouquet. Supermarket carnations, $8, and my hands were trembling. Not from doubt. From grief. I had just gotten married and the 2 people who raised me had not wanted to see it. A week later I mailed a card to Greystone Falls. Inside it, our courthouse photo, Darius and me on the front steps, both grinning wide. I wrote, "We are happy. I hope one day you can be happy for us too." The card came back 12 days later. Red stamp on the front. Returned to sender. I stared at that stamp for a long time. Then I opened the manila envelope, placed the card inside, and wrote in red ink, Entry 1. Wedding photo. Returned. That was how the binder started. Year 1 was the hardest. Called Mom 4 times. Voicemail all 4 times. I left messages, short and deliberate, the kind you draft carefully because you are aware they might be the last one she ever hears. "Hi Mom. Just calling to check in. Things are good here. Darius started a new position at a tech firm downtown. I am prepping for my CPA exam. I miss you. Call whenever you are ready." She never called back. I sent a card for her birthday, one for Dad's, one for the holidays. All 3 came back with the same red stamp. Dad sent 1 text. Came in January. 6 words. "Give your mother some more time." That was it. No follow-up, no second message. 6 words sitting in my phone like something I could not bring myself to delete. Brooke put up a family photo that spring. Mom, Dad, Brooke, Brooke's boyfriend at the time, all smiling at a backyard table. Caption: Sunday dinner with my favorites. I was not in the photo. I had not been invited. I printed the screenshot not to punish myself. I printed it because I had started doing something I could not fully explain even to myself. Documenting every returned envelope, every missed call log, every piece of evidence that my family had decided I did not exist anymore. I moved everything from the manila envelope into a proper binder by February. Dark green 3-ring labeled tabs. He is not right for us, Claire. Her words surfaced at odd moments. In the cereal aisle. At a traffic light. At 3 in the morning when the apartment was dark and Darius was asleep beside me. I wanted the words to lose their weight. They did not lose it. They just became background noise. And the binder got thicker. By year 2, Darius left his position. Not impulsively. He had spent 5 months building a prototype evenings and weekends, a regulatory compliance tool for independent businesses, software that made federal filings and internal audits manageable for companies that could not afford a dedicated legal team. He understood systems. I understood numbers. Together we knew exactly which problem we were solving, making compliance accessible for organizations with under 75 employees. He cleared out a corner of our second bedroom, 2 monitors, a folding table, a small space heater, a whiteboard he picked up at a thrift sale. I came home from my analyst role each evening, reheated leftovers, and sat beside him going through financial projections until past midnight. I designed the pricing architecture. I drafted the compliance checklists. I ran every module against actual federal reporting standards. Darius built the infrastructure. I built the interface. Neither of us slept enough. ClearPath Compliance launched 8 months later with 6 pilot customers and a free trial that crashed on launch day. That same year I upgraded my record keeping. The manila envelope had been outgrown. Return cards, call transcripts, the Facebook screenshot, the original letter on off-white stationery. I bought a real binder. Dark green 3 rings, dividers for each year, red ink labels on every item. Tab 1, year 1, 8 entries. I was not assembling a case. I was not plotting anything. I was doing what I had always done, keeping documentation because I was a financial analyst, and financial analysts do not throw away their records. But I did start numbering the entries, and I did start dating each one, because numbers do not lie and I was not going to either. The twins arrived on a Monday morning in March. 5 pounds 14 ounces each. Identical dark curls. Noah screamed through his first 2 hours. Maya slept through everything. Darius cried. I had never seen him cry. He stood at the hospital window holding one in each arm and said, "Every single day. They are going to know it every single day." Loretta arrived the next morning and stayed for 2.5 weeks. She cooked. She organized. She walked the floor with Noah at 2 a.m. while I fed Maya. She showed up with a hand-knitted blanket, soft yellow, the kind that makes you emotional just touching it, and 2 silver keepsake boxes engraved with each baby's birthday. That was what a grandmother looked like. I had mailed Diane the ultrasound images 5 months before delivery. Returned. I sent birth announcements, 2 cards, 1 per baby. Returned. I sent photographs. Noah asleep on Darius's chest. Maya curled around my finger. Returned. 3 more entries added to the binder. Items 14, 15, 16. Brooke texted someone we had both grown up with. That person sent me a screenshot without a word of explanation. Brooke's message read, "Her kids are growing up without real grandparents on her side. That is the life she picked." I sat in the nursery with that message on my screen for 13 minutes. Maya was in the crib. Noah was in my arms. I could hear Loretta in the kitchen humming something low and easy while she sterilized bottles. My children had a grandmother. Her name was Loretta Coleman and she drove 4 hours every 6 weeks without being asked and never missed a single birthday. I printed the text. Filed it. Entry 17. Red ink. Dated. By year 4 the binder held 22 entries. I want to be clear about something. I did not maintain that binder out of anger. I did not sit with it in the evening stoking some internal fire. Most months I forgot it was even there. It lived in the bottom drawer of my home office desk, underneath tax folders and old insurance paperwork, gathering dust. But every time something arrived, a returned envelope, a forwarded screenshot, a voicemail I transcribed before deleting, I filed it. Same process every time. Print label date red ink tab. Darius asked me once why I kept all of it. I told him the truth. Because someday, when the kids are old enough to ask why they do not have grandparents on my side, I want them to have documentation. Not my version. Not her version. The actual record. He nodded. He got it. He was an engineer. Engineers keep build logs. ClearPath had 15 employees by then. We had moved out of the bedroom corner and into an actual office space in the Riverside district. Darius worked 60 hours a week. I split my time between my accounting firm and ClearPath's books. We brought on a part-time childcare provider. We ate dinner as a family every night at 6 o'clock. Non-negotiable. The quiet from Indiana had become ordinary, like the weather. Some days I noticed it. Most days it simply was. Loretta came every 6 weeks. The twins called her Grandma Lo. She taught Noah how to make French toast. She showed Maya how to identify birds by their calls. I did not know it then, but that binder would become the most important document I had ever kept. More significant than my diploma. More significant than our marriage certificate. More significant than the S1 filing I would sign 4 years later. Year 5. 22 employees. A proper office with a frosted glass door and a conference room with a standing whiteboard that was actually ours this time. Not from a thrift sale. ClearPath compliance was growing. Not dramatically, not with press coverage, but with the kind of consistency that keeps a payroll funded and a team stable. Darius still wrote code. He refused to become the type of founder who stopped building what he started. Most mornings he was at his desk before 7, headphones on, deep in architecture problems I did not pretend to follow. Everything else was mine. Cash position, vendor agreements, quarterly forecasting. The company was his vision. The numbers were my domain. We bought our first house that year. A craftsman-style home in the Elmwood section of the city. 3 bedrooms, original hardwood. A side yard with a pear tree the twins immediately turned into a base camp. I remember writing my name on the mortgage documents and thinking, nobody handed us this. We made it ourselves. Noah started first grade. Maya started first grade. They took the same bus and sat in adjacent seats and quarreled every morning about who got the aisle. Ordinary. Completely, beautifully ordinary. One evening in November I made the mistake of opening Facebook. Carol had posted a photo from what looked like an early holiday dinner. New dining table. Brooke and her husband. A baby in a booster seat. Brooke's son, my nephew. A child I had never laid eyes on. Caption. Everyone I love all in one place. 3 people in the frame, a child, a table, a family assembled without me or my children or the man I married. I closed the app, went to bed, did not cry. I had stopped crying over Carol Whitfield somewhere in year 3. Some wounds do not close. They just go quiet. Brooke got married in year 6. I found out through Instagram. The ceremony was beautiful. Same Methodist church where I had gone to vacation Bible school at 10 years old. Over 200 guests. Brooke in a cathedral veil. Mom in dusty rose. Dad in a suit I had never seen before. The reception had a string quartet, a 4-tier cake, and a sparkler exit that looked like something out of a magazine. I was not invited. I was not told. I found out 5 days after the wedding when a woman I had graduated with posted a group photo with the caption, Ceremony of the Year. I zoomed in. My parents were in the 3rd row, arms linked, both smiling. Dad looked like he had lost weight. Mom looked exactly as I remembered. I stayed with that photo for a long time. Not because I envied the wedding. I had my wedding. 11 people, Ethiopian food, a $145 dress, and the best person I have ever known. I stayed with it because they looked genuinely happy. And they looked genuinely happy without me. I did something I probably should not have done. I ordered a set of embroidered linen napkins from an artisan shop nearby. Ivory monogrammed with Brooke's new initials. I wrote a card. Congratulations on your wedding. I hope you and your husband have a beautiful life together. With love, Claire. The package was returned 3 weeks later. Seal still intact. You could see the tape had not been broken. Entry 18. Gift returned. Brooke's wedding. Red ink. Dated. I put the binder back in the drawer, closed it, sat at my desk, and listened to Maya singing to herself down the hall and Noah arguing with Darius about whether pterodactyls counted as birds. That was my family right there in the next room. And it was more than enough. Year 7 shifted everything. ClearPath closed a Series B funding round. $9 million from a venture capital group out of Chicago. I remember the call. Darius was in the kitchen making waffles for the kids. His phone buzzed. He listened, said a few words, hung up, turned to me and said, "They are in." I ran the numbers before the waffles were on the plates. $9 million in new capital, post-money valuation of $54 million. Darius and I still held 24%. We were not wealthy. Not exactly. But the trajectory was undeniable. I left my position at the firm that same month and joined ClearPath full-time as CFO. First time my name appeared on the company documents alongside his. We were partners in everything formally now. We moved to a larger place. A 4-bedroom colonial near Lakeview Ridge, 20 minutes outside the city. Good school district, quiet street. A kitchen with a long island where the twins did homework while I reviewed quarterly reports from the other end. The Series B made a modest ripple in the industry press. A fintech newsletter covered it. 2 regional business publications ran brief mentions. Nothing that went viral. The kind of story that people inside the field noticed and everyone else passed over. But someone in Greystone Falls, Indiana did not pass it over. 2 weeks after the coverage went up, an old friend from high school sent me a text. Hey, kind of out of nowhere. But your mom asked my aunt about Darius's company after service on Sunday. She wanted to know what Series B funding meant. Figured you should know. I read that 3 times. Mom had not spoken my name in 7 years. She did not know what a funding round was, but she wanted to. The math was shifting and Carol Whitfield was starting to pay attention. That same year I sent what I knew was going to be my last birthday card. 7 consecutive years, 7 returned. Each one filed and labeled. But this time I tucked something extra inside. A photograph of Noah and Maya at their class fall carnival. Matching jackets, faces painted. Noah was missing both front teeth. Maya was grinning with her whole face. On the back I wrote, "They wonder about you sometimes. I tell them you live far away." I sealed it, put it in the mail, expected the standard red stamp. Came back in 10 days. But something had changed. The envelope had been opened. The flap was bent at the crease. The glue was resealed with a piece of clear tape. I held it up to the window. The card was still inside. The photo was still inside. But someone had opened it, removed the contents, looked at them, held them, and then carefully put everything back and returned it. I sat at the kitchen table and turned that envelope over for a long time. Someone in that house, Dad, I was almost certain, had looked at his grandchildren's faces, had held that photo in his hands, and then someone else, Mom, I was certain, had made him seal it back up and send it away. He wanted to keep it. She would not allow it. Entry 24. Birthday card. Year 7. Opened and resealed. Photo examined. Still returned. I wrote that label with a steadier hand than I expected, because I had suspected for years that Dad was not the one who drew the blueprint for this silence. He was the one who maintained it. Mom was the architect. And the design was straightforward. If she could not control who I loved, she would delete me from the family picture entirely. Year 8. ClearPath was growing faster than our models had projected. 90 employees. Offices in 2 cities. A formal partnership with 3 of the largest accounting firms in our region. Darius was featured on the cover of a regional business publication. Modest print run, local readership. But his face was on a glossy cover under a headline that read, "The Methodical Builder." That month I noticed unusual activity on my LinkedIn. Someone in Greystone Falls, Indiana had visited my profile 4 times in 1 week. No visible identity, a private account or a guest session, but the location showed up clearly. Then Incorporated magazine ran a mid-year watchlist feature. ClearPath made the list at number 39. A brief mention, 3 sentences. But it was Incorporated. I did not think much more about the LinkedIn views until several weeks later when Darius recorded a guest spot on a compliance industry podcast. 40 minutes of fairly technical content. Regulatory frameworks, automation tools, reporting integrations, not exactly content that gets clipped. But 2 days after it published, my contact from home texted again. "Your mom told someone at the church potluck that she always believed Darius had a good head on his shoulders." Word for word. She sounded like she was bragging. Always believed. 7 years of silence and now she always believed. I did not file that. It was not a document. It was a second-hand account. But I wrote it on a sticky note and placed it on the inside cover of the binder, because I wanted to remember the exact moment Carol Whitfield started revising the story. She was not proud of Darius. She was not remorseful. She was recalculating. The numbers were going up and my mother was doing her own kind of accounting. The group chat came through on a Sunday. My contact, Renata, the one who had been keeping me loosely informed about things back home, called me on a Sunday evening. She sounded unsettled. Claire, Brooke accidentally added me to a family text chain. I think she meant someone else. My number must be similar. I was in it for 4 days before they realized and removed me. I got screenshots. She sent 8 of them. 4 days of unfiltered Whitfield family conversation. I read them in the driveway after picking Noah up from a birthday party. Brooke. His company came in at a $54 million valuation last round. I have been looking at the public filings. If they go public, we are probably looking at $250 million minimum. Carol. How do we even bring this up? She is not going to listen to me reaching out. Raymond. Maybe I try first. Just to get a sense of where she is. Carol. No. I need to go in person. With a real plan laid out. Brooke. Write out exactly what you need. Be concrete. She is analytical. She responds to specifics. Carol. What number do we even start with? Brooke. Led with Dad's medical costs. Then retirement. Then the mortgage. Then Thomas's school fund. Build up to it gradually. Present it as the family helping each other, not a request. Raymond. I do not feel right about this. Carol. Raymond. She has more money than this entire county. Helping her own family should not even be a question. Raymond did not respond after that. I sat with the engine off. Through the windshield I could see Noah sprinting across our front yard with a paper plate from the party. My hands were not shaking from sadness. They were shaking from the absolute clarity of what I was reading. 9 years of silence. 9 years of returned birthday cards and ignored grandchildren, and an off-white letter that told me not to come back through their door. And now that the financial picture had shifted, they wanted to build an approach with a written plan. I drove inside, printed every screenshot, opened the binder. Entry 27. Family group chat. Financial surveillance confirmed. Strategic planning documented. If this is hitting close to home, if someone has ever gone quiet on you, and then suddenly reappeared the moment the circumstances changed, I want to hear from you in the comments. And if you have not subscribed yet, this is a good moment. I told Darius that night after the kids were asleep. I handed him the phone with the screenshots. He read them the way he reads code, methodically, looking for what is actually being said beneath what is written. When he finished, he set the phone face down on the counter and looked at the wall for a moment. What do you want to do? Nothing yet. But I want to be prepared. He nodded. That was Darius. He did not tell me what to feel. He did not push toward confrontation or avoidance. He asked what I wanted and then he stayed right beside me while I worked it through. The next morning I called a family attorney. Not to initiate anything legal, just to understand our position. What happened if Carol showed up? Did she have any standing to make claims? What about the children? The attorney, a woman named Harriet, direct and thorough, walked me through the entire picture in under half an hour. No legal standing whatsoever. Our asset protection was structured around the children from the start. No grandparent visitation rights in our state without an existing documented relationship. 9 years of estrangement with documentation made any potential claim completely unviable. I thanked her and went back to work. But that same week I did one more thing. I drafted a letter at the kitchen table after midnight. Never sent it. Just wrote it out long. In it I listed every entry in the binder, every date, every returned card, every unanswered call, every screenshot. 27 items, all laid out, all documented. Year 9. The IPO conversations began in February. Investment bankers flew in. We hosted 3 rounds of meetings in our conference room. They reviewed our revenue model, customer retention, growth trajectory, and churn rate. They used terms like roadshow and price band and lockup window. Darius owned the product narrative. I owned the numbers. Every slide, every projection, every risk item in the disclosure. My name was on it. CFO. Co-founder. The person who had signed off on every federal filing before it left the building. The process ran for 7 months. 7 months of due diligence, legal review, and investor presentations. Darius barely slept. I barely ate full meals. The twins started noticing. Noah asked why Dad kept talking to his computer at the dinner table. Maya drew a picture of me at my desk with a caption that read, "One more spreadsheet." In September, our attorney finalized the trust structure for Noah and Maya. 2 irrevocable trusts, fully funded and protected. No one, not Carol, not Raymond, not Brooke, not any version of a Whitfield who might show up with a list, could access $1 of it. I signed the documents on a Wednesday afternoon in a corner conference room overlooking the river. The attorney asked if I had questions. I had one. If a family member attempts to claim access to these funds, what is the outcome? She looked at me evenly and said, "Nothing. That is the entire point." I drove home, helped Maya with her reading assignment, made dinner, put the trust documents in the lockbox under our bed. That evening I noticed something. For the first time in months, there were no LinkedIn profile visits from Greystone Falls. No texts from Renata about church chatter. No digital footprint at all. Quiet. The kind that means something is being planned. 6 weeks before the IPO, Brooke texted me. First contact in 9 years. It came through at 3:11 on a Wednesday afternoon. "Hey stranger. Thinking about you. How are the little ones?" 6 words. 9 years. How are the little ones? As if she had been checking in regularly. As if this was a continuation of something and not a resurrection. I did not respond for a full week. I wanted to see if she would follow up. She did. A second text. "I have a work trip coming up and I will be passing through your area. Would love to grab coffee and catch up." Darius said, "Your call entirely." I agreed to meet. Not at our home. At a cafe in the Riverside district. Public, neutral with a natural stopping point built in. Brooke arrived 12 minutes late in a blazer and leather boots. She looked like she had rehearsed being relaxed. She hugged me for too long. She said, "You look incredible" 3 times in the first 8 minutes. Then the questions started. What was the house like? Did the twins go to private school? What part of the city did we live in? Was Darius still running operations day to day, or had he stepped back from the product side? How many people on the team now? Had there been any recent funding activity? 34 questions. I counted. Not one of them was, "I am sorry." At some point I noticed something in the window reflection. Brooke had her phone angled toward the parking structure visible from our table. She was photographing my car. A silver SUV Darius had gotten me for my birthday. She was cataloging details, assembling a report. I let her finish her coffee. I answered everything vaguely, pleasantly, the way you answer small talk from someone you just met. When we hugged goodbye, she held on too long again. 34 questions. I had counted. The only one she never asked was the only one that would have mattered. After I got back to my car, I drove straight home and opened the binder. Entry 29. Brooke reconnaissance meeting. Date. Red ink. Notes. 34 questions documented. Vehicle photographed. No reference to estrangement. No apology offered. Then I called Harriet for the second time. "They are coming," I told her. "My mother. Probably within a few weeks of our IPO date. She will come with a structured ask." Harriet asked what kind. I told her about the group chat screenshots. Brooke's instructions to layer it, to make it look like mutual investment rather than a direct request. Harriet was quiet for a moment. "You have documentation?" "I have a binder." "How complete is it?" 31 items. 9 years. Dated. Sourced. Organized. Another pause. "Claire, you do not need me for this conversation. The legal architecture is in place, the trust, the estate separation all done. What you are describing is not a legal matter. It is a personal one. And for that, you just have to decide what you are willing to say out loud." She was right. This was not about attorneys. This was about a woman who was going to appear at my door because the numbers had moved, and whether I was going to let her reframe 9 years of intentional silence as a simple misunderstanding. That night I sat at my desk and pulled out the letter I had written months before. The one with every entry listed. I read it through. Then I put it back in the drawer. I did not need the letter. I had the binder. 31 items. 9 years. Every returned card, every ignored message, every forwarded screenshot. Every piece of documentation that showed my family had decided I no longer existed. Not because I did anything to deserve it, but because I loved someone they refused to accept. The binder would do the talking. ClearPath Compliance went public on a Thursday in November. Darius and I stood on the trading floor in New York, him in a dark gray suit, me in a navy blazer, and watched the stock open at $17 a share. By noon it had reached 19. By close 21. Market capitalization, $410 million. Darius and I held 11% combined. Net worth on paper, $45 million. $45 million. I stared at that number on the screen and could not quite make it feel real. It read like a formula someone had entered incorrectly. Too many digits. Rechecked the source. But the source was correct. Checking the source was literally my job. TechCrunch ran a piece. Forbes requested a comment. A Business Wire included us in a roundup. A local news station filmed a 2-minute segment. Regional couple takes compliance startup to NASDAQ. They showed our company photo. 2 founders standing side by side. Equal. Darius and I had room service in our hotel that night overlooking the city. Loretta was home with Noah and Maya in our house, having flown in for the week. Darius fell asleep on the couch before 9:30, still in his dress shirt. I stayed awake. Not because of what had just happened on the market. Because of what I knew was about to happen at home. I checked my phone. 6 missed calls. Area code 317. Greystone Falls. 2 from a number I did not recognize. 2 from Raymond. 1 from Carol. I did not return any of them. I set the phone down on the nightstand and lay looking at the ceiling. 9 years and $45 million, and suddenly Claire Whitfield was worth reaching. I fell asleep with my hand resting on the phone as though it might move. It would. Raymond's voicemail arrived the next morning, while I was brushing my teeth. His voice was thinner than I remembered. Slower. The rhythm was the same, unhurried, deliberate. A man who chose every word. But underneath it something was different. Fracture. Sweetheart. I saw you both on the financial news last night. You and Darius on the trading floor. I did not know what to say when I sat down to call, so I just am calling. I am proud of what you have done. I always have been. A long pause. Breathing. Your mother wants to speak with you. She has something she wants to go over. Call when you are able. I love you, Claire. I played it 3 times. Sweetheart. He had not used that word since I was 15. I am proud of what you have done. The words I had been waiting nearly a decade to hear. But then I played it again and listened to the structure of it. He called the morning after the IPO. Not the morning after our wedding. Not when the twins arrived. Not after any of the 7 birthday cards or the birth announcements or the photographs. After the IPO. He was proud of me now. On paper. He may have always been proud. What he had never managed to be was brave enough to call, when there was nothing financial attached to the call. He is not right for us, Claire. He never will be. Mom's voice. But it was Dad who upheld the silence every single day for 9 years. He could have called any Tuesday in the past decade. He chose this one. The one with 45 million reasons attached. I saved the voicemail. I did not add it to the binder. It was too heavy for the binder. Instead, I sat on the hotel bathroom floor and let myself feel the full weight of it for about 5 minutes. Then I stood up, finished packing, and we caught our flight home. Carol's message came 2 days after we returned. Long, carefully worded. No autocorrect slips. No fragments, no abbreviations. This was a draft. She had composed it, revised it, and probably read it aloud before sending. Claire. I know there is time between us that we cannot get back. I think about you and the children more than you know. Life is brief, and I have come to understand that some things matter more than the disagreements that separate us. I would like to speak with you about the children, about the future, about what it means to hold a family together. There are things families share with one another. I believe we can find a way through this if you are open to it. 61 words, carefully assembled. Not a single one was sorry. Not a single one was I was wrong. Not a single one named what she had actually done. 9 years of returned photographs. A grandchildren she had never acknowledged. A daughter she had removed from her life because the man that daughter loved had a different background than the one she had imagined. She wrote, "The disagreements that separate us." As though our estrangement was a difference of opinion rather than a mother who told her daughter not to come back through her door, and then spent 9 years making sure she meant it. I did not reply. I took a screenshot, printed it, opened the binder. Entry 31. First direct message from Carol in 9 years. 61 words. 0 apology. Red ink. Dated. I shut the binder, replaced it in the bottom drawer, and sat at my desk looking at the framed photo next to my monitor. Darius and me and the twins at the coast last summer. All four of us squinting into the sun. Noah on Darius's shoulders, Maya holding my hand. That photograph was my answer. Renata called on a Friday afternoon. Brooke has been telling people around town that she visited you in Portland. She is describing your home as a mansion. That word exactly. She is telling people Darius built something extraordinary and that you drive a luxury car and the kids go to a private school. I leaned against the counter. Half of that is not accurate. It is not a mansion and the kids go to public school. Claire, that is not what matters right now. Your mom is making plans. Brooke told someone at the salon that Carol is flying out next week. She is already packed. I closed my eyes. I know. How? Because Brooke spent an hour at a cafe asking me 34 questions and photographing my car. Silence on the other end. Then what are you going to do? I am going to open the door. Renata sounded caught off guard. You are going to let her in? I am going to let her talk. And then I am going to show her what I have been keeping in the bottom drawer of my desk for 9 years. We hung up and I stood in my kitchen. The kitchen with the long island where Maya worked through her homework and Noah built things out of whatever was nearby and Darius made waffles on Sunday mornings, and it smelled like coffee and like home. Loretta's photo was on the refrigerator next to a field trip permission slip and a drawing Maya had made of the whole family at the beach. Grandma Lowe, the only grandmother they had ever known. Carol was coming. I had known it since the group chat, since the funding round coverage, since the LinkedIn views and the church gossip and Brooke's 34 questions at a cafe table. The numbers had changed and Carol Whitfield was coming to collect. But I was not the girl who left Greystone Falls at 18 with a scholarship and a card that read "Come home soon." I was a CFO. I was a mother. I was a woman with a binder. And I was ready. The irony was not subtle. In Greystone Falls, news traveled through the Methodist Church the way water moves through stone. Slowly, completely impossible to reverse. When I married Darius, the community grapevine had covered it within 48 hours. Carol Whitfield's daughter married someone who was not from around here. The women on the prayer list murmured. The men at the diner shook their heads and Carol had used that social pressure the way some people use weather. As cover, as justification. She had distanced herself from me partly because she could not survive the whispers. Now the whispers had turned around. Renata had confirmed it. People at church were asking Carol directly. You must be so proud of them both. When did you last see the grandkids? Are you heading to Portland for the holidays? And Carol had to smile through every one, because admitting the truth, that she had cut off her firstborn for falling in love with the wrong person, would collapse everything she had spent a decade constructing. The same social structure that had allowed her to erase me was now demanding she explain herself. She could not acknowledge the estrangement without confirming she was the one who started it. She could not pretend everything was fine without someone asking why Claire was never at Christmas. The pressure had reversed direction. And Carol Whitfield, who had used that town's judgment like a precision instrument, was now on the receiving end of it. She arrived on a Tuesday at 10:22 in the morning. I know the exact time because I was at the kitchen window with a dish in my hand and I watched the rideshare pull up. She stepped out carefully. Gray knit sweater, black slacks, the same small pearl earrings she had worn to church every Sunday for as long as I could remember. A carry-on with worn corners. She stood on the sidewalk for a full 30 seconds before she came up the path. I watched her take in the house, the porch details, the garden beds, the front window. She was assessing. The doorbell rang. I opened the door. We stood 3 feet apart. She looked older. More silver in her hair. Lines at the corners of her mouth that were not there 9 years ago. Her eyes, the same gray-green as mine, were already wet. Claire. Mom. A silence. 5 seconds. I came to have a conversation about the children's future. Not I came because I missed you. Not I came because I owe you an apology. Not even I came because I love you and I wasted 9 years. I came to have a conversation about the children's future. The children she had never laid eyes on. The children whose photographs she had returned in sealed envelopes. The children Brooke had said were growing up without real grandparents on my side. I looked at the suitcase. I looked at the folded sheet in her right hand. Come in. I did not take her to the living room. I took her to the kitchen. The kitchen had a table and good natural light, and the refrigerator covered in Loretta's photos and Maya's artwork, and a map of the world with pins in every country the kids wanted to visit one day. The kitchen was where honest conversations happened in our house. And honest was what we were about to be. She sat down. I set 2 glasses of water on the table. No tea, no coffee. Coffee was for guests who were staying. She looked around the room. Her eyes settled on the refrigerator. On Loretta holding both twins on her lap at the beach last summer. All 3 of them laughing. Carol stared at it for several seconds. Something passed across her face. I could not tell whether it was guilt or something closer to envy. Then she unfolded the paper. Her handwriting, black ink, 5 bullet points, each line deliberate and precise. The product of hours of planning. She read them out loud. Retirement support for your father and me. $500,000. I said nothing. College fund for Brooke's son Thomas. $200,000. Nothing. Your father's procedure, knee replacement. $47,000. Nothing. Mortgage payoff on the family home. $176,000. Nothing. Monthly household support. $3,000. She folded the paper and placed it between us on the table. Looked at me. This is what family does, Claire. Your father gave everything he had for this family, for you and Brooke both. It is not unreasonable to expect something in return. I looked at the list. $923,000, itemized with care, delivered without a single acknowledgement that she was sitting in a kitchen she had never visited, asking for money from grandchildren she had never held. Her children are growing up without real grandparents on my side. That is the life she picked. Brooke's words from years ago. I picked up the list, read through it one more time, folded it, set it back. Then I stood up and walked to my office. Bottom drawer. Underneath the tax records and old insurance files. I pulled out the binder. Dark green. 3 rings. Heavy with nearly a decade of accumulated documentation. I carried it back to the kitchen and placed it on the table directly next to her folded list. 2 documents side by side. Hers. 1 page, 5 bullet points. $923,000. Mine 31 items, 9 years, 0 apologies received. Carol looked at the binder. What is that? You brought a list, Mom. I sat down and placed both hands flat on the table. I brought one too. She looked at the red ink labels visible through the clear cover sleeve. At the thickness of it. Nearly 3 inches of tab dividers and printed records and photographs and returned envelopes still in their original condition. I do not understand. You will. I opened to tab 1. Year 1. And I began reading. I did not raise my voice. I did not cry. I did not perform anything. I read the way I present quarterly results to a board. Organized. Factual. Item by item. 9 years of documentation. Every return card, every unanswered call, every forwarded message, every piece of evidence that Carol Whitfield had deliberately removed her firstborn daughter from the family record. Not because I had done anything to deserve it, but because I loved someone she refused to accept. The binder was not a weapon. It was not an act of revenge. It was a record. And records do not negotiate. They do not argue. They do not assign blame or seek redemption. They simply report what happened. And I had 9 years worth of what happened. Tab 1. Year 1. I lifted the first item. A birthday card in a white envelope. Red stamp across the front. Return to sender. Seal never broken. Entry 1. Birthday card. Mailed September 8, 2016. Returned September 19th. Carol's eyes went wide. I placed the second item on the table. Another envelope. Same stamp. Entry 2. Wedding photo. Mailed July 21, 2016. Returned August 1st. A third. Entry 3. Holiday card. Mailed December 11, 2016. Returned December 23rd. I set them out one by one slowly, the way you arrange evidence in a financial audit. No commentary. No emotion in my delivery. Just documents placed in chronological sequence. Carol's mouth opened, then closed. She stared at the growing row of white envelopes with red stamps across the front, each one a door I had tried to open that she had shut. These are the birthday cards I sent every year for 9 years. Every one of them came back. Claire, I am not finished. I moved to tab 2. Year 2. A voicemail transcript, printed and stapled to a dated note. An outgoing call log with no response recorded. A screenshot of Carol's family dinner post. My whole favorite people. No Claire, no Darius, no grandchildren. Entry 4. Voicemail to you. January 14, 2017. Length: 52 seconds. No return call. Carol pressed her fingertips to her mouth. Entry 5. Text from Dad. February 9, 2017. 6 words. Give your mother some more time. I set the printout on the table. It has been 9 years, Mom. How much more time? The tears came. I had expected them. Carol brought both hands to her face and produced the specific sound I had grown up recognizing. The controlled, contained cry she deployed when she wanted sympathy without conceding anything. The same sound she made when Dad forgot their anniversary. The same sound she made when her committee suggestion was passed over at church. I was hurt, Claire. You chose him over your family. You chose to leave. I did not leave. You told me not to come back. That is not what I said. I was upset. People say things they do not mean when they are hurt. I flipped to tab 4, year 4 and pulled out a screenshot. Entry 17. Text from Brooke to a mutual contact. Forwarded. March 4, 2020. I read it out. Her kids are growing up without real grandparents on my side. That is the life she picked. Carol flinched. That is not Brooke's exact words. I know. I read them directly. I moved to the final tab. 8 pages of screenshots. The group chat. Entry 27. Family text chain. Obtained via mutual contact accidentally added to the thread. October 19, 2024. I read Brooke's message. Write out exactly what you need. Be concrete. She is analytical. She responds to specifics. Then Carol's. She has more money than this entire county. Helping her own family should not even be a question. Carol's expression changed. The performance stopped. The tears dried and something harder surfaced underneath. The look I recognized from childhood. The one that showed up when Brooke broke something valuable and tried to blame it on circumstances. Not remorse. Anger. You had no right to those messages. I held her gaze. Level even. You had no right to return photographs of my children. The kitchen went quiet. I reached for one specific item. Tab 5. Year 7. The envelope looked different from the others. Same white paper, same red stamp, but the flap was folded at an unusual angle. The adhesive had been cut and pressed back down with a thin strip of tape. I held it up. Entry 24. Birthday card. Year 7. Inside this card was a photograph of Noah and Maya at their school fall carnival. On the back I wrote, "They wonder about you sometimes. I tell them you live far away." I set it on the table. This envelope was opened. Someone removed the contents, looked at the photo, and then resealed it and sent it back. Carol's jaw tightened. Who opened it? Nothing. Dad opened it. He wanted to hold on to it. And you made him return it. Carol's hands were flat on the table. Her eyes were fixed on the tape. She said something barely audible. I almost did not catch it. I was afraid. I waited. If I let him keep it, if I let any part of it in, I would have had to admit I was wrong, that I wasted 9 years over my own pride, that I shut out my grandchildren because I could not tolerate being incorrect. She stopped, swallowed. For 1 or 2 seconds, something honest was present in her face. Not the performance, not the management, actual fear. The kind that has been buried under anger long enough that it has forgotten how to surface cleanly. Then it was gone. Her posture straightened and her chin lifted. But you made your choice, Claire. You decided. That was it. One real moment and then the wall went back up. I placed her list on the left side of the table. I placed the binder on the right. Your list. $923,000. 5 items. 0 acknowledgement of what came before it. I touched the binder. My list. 31 entries. 9 years. 9 years of returned cards and photographs and birth announcements and grandchildren you never acknowledged. Because I married someone you refused to accept. Carol's nostrils flared. I never said I would not accept him. I said it with you both. That conversation. The letter. All of it. You wrote in that letter. He is not right for us. You returned 7 birthday cards from those children without opening a single one. You organized a plan with Brooke to come here with a financial request and no apology. I closed the binder. The rings clicked. You did not come here because you missed us, Mom. You came here because the numbers changed. Carol stood. The chair scraped against the tile. After everything we put into raising you, the sacrifices, the years of work, this is how you respond to all of that. You raised me. That is not a debt. That is what parents are supposed to do. We gave you everything. You gave me a card that said come home soon. And then you told me not to come back. She had nothing. I watched her search for something. Some version of guilt or leverage or recasting of events that would shift the weight of the conversation. Nothing fit. You said he was not right for us. But for 9 years, his mother was the only grandmother those children had. That sentence sat in the room between us. She heard it. I watched it land. She had no answer for it. The garage door opened. Darius came in through the laundry room, keys in one hand, bag over his shoulder. He saw Carol. He saw the binder on the table. He saw me. He set his bag down, crossed the kitchen, put his hand on my shoulder and sat down beside me. That was all. No speech, no confrontation, no announcement. Just a man sitting next to his wife because she needed someone beside her. Carol looked at Darius, the man she had refused to accept 9 years ago. He was wearing a flannel and running shoes. There was nothing about him that announced anything. No display of wealth, no performance of success. He was just a man, a good man, a father, and his hand was on my shoulder saying everything without a word. Carol looked at his hand, and my shoulder, at the ease between us that required no effort and no explanation. She understood. I had not needed the Whitfield family. I had built my own. I spoke quietly the way you deliver a final line on a balance sheet. Settled. Not subject to revision. Mom, I am not going to give you money. She started to speak. I continued. Not because it is beyond my means. Because the moment I hand you a check you will interpret it as confirmation that waiting was the right strategy. You will tell yourself and you will tell Brooke that this is what family does. That the silence was just a difficult season. That those 9 years were a rough stretch you both got through. I held her list out across the table. Those 9 years were not a rough stretch. They were decisions. Your decisions. Every returned card. Every ignored photograph. Every year those children grew up without knowing your face. She did not take the list back. Stayed there between us. If you want to know your grandchildren, genuinely know them, not as line items in a financial strategy, it starts with an apology. Not to me. To them. And it does not begin today. It begins when you are ready to mean every word of it. Carol took the list. She picked up her bag. She walked to the front door, stopped, turned back, opened her mouth, closed it and walked out. The door did not slam. It clicked. The sound of someone who understood, finally, that she had lost something no number could recover. If someone came back into your life only after the circumstances shifted, I want to hear your story. Leave it in the comments. And if this reminded you that your value has nothing to do with what you are worth on paper, share it with someone who needs that today. 2 weeks went by. Darius and I did not talk about Carol much. Not because we were sidestepping it. Because there was not much left unresolved between us on the subject. She had arrived with a list. I had shown her the binder. She had left without apologizing. The accounting was complete. The twins did not know she had come. They were at school both times, when she arrived and when she left. That was exactly how I wanted it. They would learn about Carol Whitfield when they were old enough to understand that some people can only see you when the light is flattering. Raymond called on a Tuesday morning at 9 in the morning while I was at my desk. Sweetheart, your mother told me what happened when she was out there. I waited. I should have come to you years ago. I should have called. I should have driven out the week those babies were born. I should have done it all differently. His voice gave way for a moment. I am sorry. Not because of any of this financial business. I do not want $1. I want to know my grandchildren and I want to earn the chance to try. I stayed quiet for a while. 16 seconds. I counted. I believe you, Dad. But believing you and trusting you are two different things. We go slowly. We start with phone calls every couple of weeks. No visits yet. No money. Just talking. He agreed right away. That is more than I have any right to ask for. It is exactly what you have right to. Not more. Not less. We said goodbye and I went back to my work. Brooke sent one text. A single line. You could have just helped us. I did not respond. Some messages carry their own answer inside them. Carol did not call. Did not text. Did not write. The silence came back, but this time it belonged to her. I had said everything I needed to say. Whatever came next was hers to initiate. The binder sat in the bottom drawer. 31 items. 9 years. I did not add a 32nd. I genuinely hoped I would never have to. Here is what 9 years of intentional silence taught me. Family is not the people who share your last name. Family is not the people who appear at your door when your net worth reaches a number they had been tracking. Family is the people who show up when the office is a folding table in a spare room, and your babies need someone to rock them at 2 a.m., and nobody is checking what your company is valued at. The people who drive 4 hours without being asked and stay 2 weeks and crochet blankets and teach your son how to make French toast and your daughter how to listen for birds. That is family. It was never about money. It was always about showing up. That is my story. 9 years. 31 items. 1 dark green binder. If this reminded you that your worth was never a financial figure, share it with someone who needs to hear that right now.